Live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco. This is Roy Kessel for Sports Philanthropy Network. And today we're very excited to have with us two special guests from TAPS. So we have Diana Horsford and Jessica Harper.
That's us.
Thank you for being here.
We are thrilled to be here. So exciting to be at Super Bowl 60. We did an incredible service project with the Salute to Service partners today, and it's just been full of energy and excitement and goodness, and can't wait for the big game.
Well, you guys are all over the place. Every time I look around, there's another event, another stadium, more families. So tell us about the mission of TAPS.
TAPS, we care for the families of the fallen, regardless of the cause of death, regardless of the relation to the deceased. We provide them with comfort, care, and community through programming all over the country all year long. Sports program was born in 2013 and allows us to work with surviving family members to celebrate the life and service of their heroes. So we're able to really do impactful, meaningful work.
So today was a big event at NFL Experience, at Super Bowl Experience. Tell us about what happened down there.
We did a Salute to Service project. It was the first time all 5 of the NFL Salute to Service charities were all together for an event. We all made different resource kits, care kits, and our part was these fallen hero photo buttons. So whenever TAPS families go to an event, we create these opportunities for them to honor their heroes. So we had people going to our national seminar, which happens in Washington, D.C. over Memorial Day weekend. We have photo buttons we made with some of the players, some of the cheerleaders, and some of our survivors from the Bay Area. So it's a really wonderful way to give back to our families, but also share the story. One of the things our loved ones, our people tell us about their loved ones, they're kind of afraid maybe they will be forgotten or their service to their country will be forgotten. So having those visual reminders that our loved ones are always with us, and then being able to share a story. Maybe you get to meet a player and say, my dad loved the 49ers, or, oh my gosh, my dad would have been so excited to meet the Patriots, cheerleaders. And that it's a fun, meaningful, joyful moment they have with their loved one and the sports team in TAPS.
So TAPS is an incredible organization. You guys support so many families, but you're two very talented women that have a great amount of experience. What made you select TAPS of all the opportunities that are out there in all of the organizations? Why did you pick TAPS?
You start.
So I came to TAPS a lot of ways our survivors do. So this is my sister's fiance, Staff Sergeant Michael Hollander. He was killed in Iraq in 2007. And I had a very good friend who shared about TAPS. She said, oh, I know about this organization. It helps people. So I introduced my sister to TAPS. She started attending events. So our family joined in 2008. And then I was lucky enough to start working for them part-time in 2013, around the same time that Diana had started, working for them and started in sports and entertainment, although we weren't calling it sports and entertainment. And I had the opportunity when she was kind of ramping up her program to, join in and be part of that. So, but it comes from a place of, I know very firsthand what it's like, to watch a loved one grieve the loss of someone in the military. And my sister was a fiance. There weren't many places that would offer her support. She didn't have Army benefits. She was an official spouse. So Bonnie and that organization really wrapped their arms around my sister. And so as someone, who saw that, to be able to work on behalf and offer that care and comfort, to offer that, welcoming space, and to create those opportunities, for me, it's personal, but it's also an honor and a privilege to work for our families every day.
And I started working with Bonnie on a project that I needed a military charity for. We worked together for 5 years, and then I was moving on from that project. And she had said to me, "Oh, this was so great. Can we do it again next year?" And I said, "I've taken another job." And she said, "Come have lunch with me." And I went and had lunch with her, and she put her hand on my arm and said, "You have to do it for the children." So I said, "Okay, I'll go work for TAPS and this woman who's national treasure, right? I'll do this for a year." I've just celebrated 13 years in doing this work. And, I originally started working in marketing communications on a couple of different projects. And then Bonnie invited me to go to Afghanistan with her. And that really changed everything. That's where I had the idea to, build a sports program. I say it was born on a sleepless night on base in Kabul. I just felt like something needed to be born from the experience of going to a war zone. And I wanted to do something meaningful and impactful. And sport there's the universality of sport. It brings people together in a way that nothing else really does. And we found a little hole in the sports world, because when sport was honoring military, it was active duty, veterans, and the ill and injured. And nobody was really recognizing the families left behind, from service.
Well, and that's a big loss, obviously, that those families have suffered and gone through very challenging. And as you said, sports brings a ton of attention, a ton of energy. And so creating that pathway for people to get a much better understanding and level of empathy for what these families go through, right? Because obviously they've paid truly the ultimate price with that effort.
For peace and freedom. Our family has given up so much for peace and freedom. So, we get to wake up every day and think about wonderful ways to bring them joy and to have opportunities to celebrate the life and service of their loved one, to make sure they're remembered, to make sure they're honored, and doing it with their favorite sports team or in their favorite city with the athletes that they loved. It's a little bit of magic we can bring to the families.
And just to add on, what you guys allow us to do, as well as our teams, is the awareness. There's a lot of families that don't know about TAPS. There's a lot of people who've lost loved ones in the military, veteran loved ones who would be eligible for our services. And so we don't quite, as the nonprofit, have a budget for marketing. So, when we partner with the 49ers and they put us up on the Jumbotron and it says TAPS, right? If we're here and people see those t-shirts and, they understand what we are and they say, oh my gosh, my brother served and I lost him. I didn't know there was a program like that. I had a survivor today tell me that one of her husband's battle buddies, is going through some PTSD, and needed some help. And I said, okay, have him reach out to us. We have a suicide prevention, postvention program. So just the awareness, doing events like this, being on programs like yours, spreading that word to find our families and get them to that care. It's just such an amazing opportunity to have as well for sports.
Well, and that's an interesting point you bring up when you talk about suicide, because I think a lot of people think about a death in the line of duty and they don't follow what happens after.
Yeah.
People
Illness
come
and
home.
suicide are our two biggest loss categories at TAPS. So, we work really, really hard with our government advocacy, the passing of the PACT Act, and we do a lot of, work with our suicide survivors. But, we want to be able to help people before, they become TAPS families. But if they do become TAPS families, it's just hard to get the word out sometimes. It's one of those things you don't want to be a part of. You don't want to need TAPS. You don't want to have to be part of this family. But if you are, we want to offer you every single resource we can to make sure, we can accompany you on your grief journey and make sure, you don't feel alone.
Well, we see a lot of attention and a lot of great work that you're doing all year long. We appreciate you taking time to join us. I know you've had a really crazy schedule here in San Francisco, so thank you for making time in your schedule.
Always a pleasure.
Would
Thank
love
you.
to have you each fill out a card for our wall of philanthropy. We've got cards right over here.
Absolutely.
And we appreciate you.
Great.
And
Thanks
for
so
all
much.
of our viewers and listeners, we appreciate you taking time to join us at Sports Philanthropy Network, live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco. I'm Roy Kessel signing off. Please remember to live generously.